Welcome, welcome, world. This is 360 Collective, and this is the race to November. It is election night in America, y'all, and we are here to talk about it. I am your host, Isaac Castellaz. I have my good brothers and comrades, Timothy Hampton, the militant wise one. We have Elrich Cleaver, the unknown scholar, Grant Brooks with us, and soon enough, we will have our good brother, Bayuni Amari Dukes, also known as the Conscious One. We are here to break down everything as it pertains to the election results and current events as it relates to the election. So if you're with us tonight, we're getting the impression that you want someone to listen to that shares your worldview, that will break down the election from a conscious point of view, who will analyze this election from the perspective of race and justice or injustice. And as we do that tonight, everybody, we will report back to you our election results. We have an electoral map all set up. So what we're looking at here is all of the projected winners in those states where there was a clear margin of victory for one candidate or the other. And then we also have the swing states listed there in cream colored. We got this from 270towin.com. We made this up because we want to keep you apprised of the results as they roll in. So based on all the projections and based on all the margins of victories, we see that Kamala Harris has 226 electoral votes flowing in her direction. Donald Trump has 219. Trump needs 51 to win. Kamala Harris needs 44. And those votes, those precious electoral votes, are going to come down to Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. Now, we also have our own projections and our own predictions about how this race will go. We're going to get into that in just a second. As we break down the election and talk about it and report results as they roll in, we want to hear from you. We want to know what's on your mind. What are you thinking? We want to acknowledge and respond to your comments as you have them, because we want this to be a conversation. We have our own feelings, thoughts, and opinions, but we want to know what yours are as well. So please drop us comments as we go. We'll be here for about 2 hours tonight, breaking down the results as they roll in. When there are results from swing states in particular, we will report those to you. As long as there's nothing new to report, we will keep on talking about what we're seeing, what we're hearing. But when those swing state results come in, we will definitely report those to you. But shout out to Nina Turner for putting this out in social media today. A couple things that we want to make sure to call out, and that's that a lot of results won't actually come in tonight. And so Nina Turner was real careful to share with us the results that we should expect tonight. And so we should expect most results from Georgia and North Carolina. But if those races are very close, then we may not get those called tonight. We should get partial results from Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, and near complete results from Virginia, Florida, Ohio, Colorado. And then by the time we log off tonight, we should get full results from Georgia, North Carolina, and maybe Michigan. But again, if those races are extremely close, there may not be a call. We hopefully will get some results from Nevada by the time we log off. We should get some partial results, maybe a clearer picture in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Arizona. Again, those are the swing states. Those are the states that we are watching closely. Most of these other states are going to project safely to one candidate or another. For example, Texas has already been projected to Donald Trump. That's not new. We expected that. So we are paying close attention to these swing states. So with all that said, I would love, Tim, to bring you in to talk to us a little bit about how, number one, how are you feeling? Number two, walk us through your electoral map.
Okay, that's not a problem. My electoral map, as I'm looking at it and as I kind of drew it up, is a
How are you
wish.
feeling? No, Tim, tell me, how are you feeling, first of all? We just had a really terrific off-camera conversation when we were in prep. How are you feeling about all of this, my man? Tell me how you're feeling.
Well, I am anxious. I am a little bit tense. I have great anticipation, great expectation. As you all know, I have projected Donald Trump to win the presidency in the past, but I drew this electoral map on a wish, prayer, for what I want to happen. But I really want Harris to win the White House for many, many, many reasons. I think she is a better candidate, more qualified, more dignified, more educated, more prepared, more experienced in all those things. But that doesn't make me a Democrat. That just makes me a concerned individual. I've looked at Donald Trump. I've watched what he's done over the last 20 something years of my life. And I just think he's a problem. I think he's a problem. So in any case, my electoral map was a wish for what I would like to see happen, and I would like to see Harris win the presidency. I did give her Ohio and Georgia, which I don't know what's going to happen there. I also gave her New Mexico and Arizona. I figured she would run the sweep on the West Coast, which Democratic candidates usually do. They get the coasts in the Northeast, but the South and the central portions of the country usually go Republican. I was hoping, and I left a lot of these states blank because the states in the center, I'm pretty sure, will go for Donald Trump. The centrists, who are all of the Americans who historically fled from the coasts and moved into the middle of America. That's Trump territory. But the coasts, which seem to be more sophisticated traditionally as far as education and things like that, I think those will go blue. So we'll see. We'll see. I knew he would win Texas. I knew he would win Florida. I had hoped Georgia would turn it out. Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. I figured he'd win those. The rest of them, I kind of left blank. But this was my wish for tonight. But I have predicted a Trump victory, and I really hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. Here's Jan, who is a longtime commenter, follower of our page, always lends great insight. She says, I can't bear to watch the election results while things are still speculative, which things are right now. There's a lot of speculation. Nothing is certain. Lots of polls, in fact, are still open. So we're glad that you're here with us, Jan, for sure. Grant, any reactions to what Tim has said? I know we're going to jump into your map because you have a real interesting one. We're going to jump into yours in just a second. But any reactions to what you've heard so far, or how are you feeling over there, my good brother? You're there in Detroit. How are you feeling about everything?
Yeah, no, I think Tim, you hit the nail on the head in terms of the middle states will definitely go red. Mm-hmm. And I'm a little nervous. I'm feeling a little nervous. I'm not real happy with the fact that Kamala chose to spend her last night in Pennsylvania and not in Michigan, because I think she really needs. I think she's kind of a little cocky about Michigan. I think she really thinks that the Detroit metro region is going to carry her, but what she doesn't. I don't know if she has a short memory, but Macomb County, which is in Southeast Michigan, really is the county that decided the Obama election. But that county is what I consider to be they call it a swing county, was also instrumental in getting Reagan in back in the 80s. They could flip back and forth. They Republican, they're the Democrats. They voted Democrat. So I think that county might decide it again. And I don't think that they're going to vote Democrat this time. So I'm little nervous to see what's going to happen. Not only that, the fact of the Arab population here has made it clear that they are denouncing the Democratic Party because of their stance on the war in Gaza. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a little tense like Jan. We'll see.
Got it. Okay. I appreciate that, G. And we're going to get to your map in just a second. We also have, just for the record, we also have Senate races to cover, and we also have House races to cover. So as those results come in, we'll definitely share. For example, the Republicans have already picked up one spot in the Senate. And they're projected already. If you look at any projection, they're projected to score 51 seats. to reclaim control of the Senate. And if we follow just the projections, Democrats are projected to pick up the control of the House. Now, let's also be clear. And Tim, we talked about this before. We're tracking this race because it's important, but we also don't have any delusions about the effectiveness of either of these candidates. Whichever candidate is elected, they're going to be effectively operating as an emperor, overseeing the vastness of the U.S. empire. So our goal as a collective, as an education collective, is still going to be to advocate, agitate, organize, and of course, educate towards liberation, towards justice, towards equality. But we also don't have any misgivings about the fact that Kamala Harris is the better of the two candidates. She provides us with the most space in which to organize, to agitate, to agitate, and to educate. We know that if Trump becomes president, then we're moving into tyrant territory. And frankly, as I was just saying before we got on, I might move down to Belize with my good brother Tim, or grab a gun. I've never owned a gun in my life, but I might just have to buy one if things go down the way that they very possibly could. So we want to put that out there. Certainly between the two candidates, we hope that Kamala Harris becomes president, but we also have no misgivings about our responsibilities as justice-minded people striving for a better world and a better society. So with that said, Amari is going to be joining soon. I want to share with you guys my electoral map and get your reactions, because I do see the state races as incredibly close. All the swing states, incredibly close. However, I do think that Kamala Harris is going to pull out just about each and every one of those swing states. She's going to win just about each and every one of those swing states. I even put Florida in there for the hell of it. Now, I know that she may not win Florida, and right now, with most of the vote being tallied, it's not looking like she's going to win Florida. She wasn't projected to win Florida, but I have her picking up 343 electoral votes because I have her winning just about all of the swing states, and I have her picking up Iowa as well. I know some people said that poll in Iowa wasn't really indicative of her likelihood of winning, but I said to hell with that. I think it means she's going to win Iowa. The main reason why I think she's going to win all of these swing states and Florida is because of the Puerto Rican population. You can see that in many of those swing states, there's a large, prominent Puerto Rican population, especially in Florida, where there are about 1 million, a little bit over 1 million, in fact, Puerto Rican voters. So I think that that's going to be one of the factors that contributes to Kamala Harris winning decisively with over 300 electoral votes. I also think that the percentage of women turning out for this vote will be historic. And I also think young people in these swing states are going to make an impression. So young people, women voters, and Puerto Ricans are going to be the groups that carry Kamala Harris to victory. Again, that's better than Trump. It's certainly nowhere close to the kind of helping us bring about the kind of world we want to live in, but it's certainly better than Donald Trump. And I would be happy for Kamala Harris to take the White House over Donald Trump between those two options, certainly. So I'll pause right there. What do you guys think about my projection?
Kamala by a landslide.
I think Florida was some bit ambitious. I think Florida was some bit ambitious. I just want to note that we've all chosen to wear our political colors tonight. You know, we've all. I see y'all got the memo. You know, but I think your projection for Florida was somewhat ambitious. You know, Florida is a tight spot. I've been there a couple of times. You know? It's a very serious place for Trumpian worldviews. You know, and but that's the only thing. I really thought that you were on point with the vast majority of it. But 343 is a lot. And I think as we discussed in prep, we really need the landslide for credibility's sake. If it's not a landslide and we get a serious legal challenge to a close race, Trump has loaded the Supreme Court. He's loaded the federal electorate, you know, and he has a lot of supporters out there. And we could see something ugly very well happen. Either way, either way, if it's not a Trump loss and violence afterwards, then it's a Trump victory and all untold atrocities in the United States and around the world in perpetuity for at least 4 years. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lofty prediction there, but I get what you were doing. I mean, yeah, it's you're right, Tim. She does need to leave. She does need this to have a clear victory with no violence, no rhetoric, like just a clear victory. You heard her right off in the sunset. There's no problems. She needs those numbers, but it's just not. It's not. We know we're just kind of predicting, but man, I mean, I'm just shocked at what I've been hearing on the ground. I've been just kind of listening to different podcasts, different interviews on YouTube, and you'd be surprised how many people who just didn't care for her, who just had this to say about her, whatever reason. And I hate to say it, but there's many people who are ignorant on both sides, to be honest with you, and who really made some decisions on who they're going to vote for based on their own personal interests, but that's what you're supposed to do. But it was based highly, highly upon the economy, and the answers to, well, wait a minute, this is your economy. What's going to change under the next 4 years under your leadership just wasn't answered. And so a lot of people that we think are going to be voting Democrat or who haven't voted Democrat historically might be voting different tonight. So I think we're going to see a very interesting race. And I have it scored very, very different. You'll see in a minute what I think.
Okay, right now they have Kamala Harris winning in North Carolina and winning in Virginia, and that's with under a third of the vote counted. So that's just a quick update. And the next polls, there's a wave of polls that are closing in the next 10 minutes. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, G, let's take a look at your map here. Talk to us about what you did and what you were thinking.
So I was just kind of going around looking at the states, just kind of seeing if this was even possible, which I didn't. I honestly did this by accident and didn't really even know this was. I never heard of this even being close to a possible tie any election in my lifetime. But because it's an historic election, because there's some states here that I just wasn't sure about, and again because I know historically, Democrats have historically won. Have either won or lost some of these states. It was a toss-up. So I said, well, hey, let's just see how it would look. I knew that she's guaranteed to win California. I knew she was guaranteed to win the Eastern Seaboard. I knew she was guaranteed to win Illinois. Right now, Wisconsin is a toss-up. I knew Colorado wasn't even a conversation. But Arizona has flip-flop. Ohio has flip-flop, but I think they're going to go red this time. Georgia's flip-flop and, back and forth over the years, but I think they're going to go blue. So she needs Georgia. So I think we're focused heavily on Pennsylvania and Michigan, but I think if for sure she loses Georgia, it's over. I don't think she can recover from that. But I have it as a dead heat. They said this was going to be a historic election. This is what we're going to have tonight, possibly. I haven't heard one person talk about this as being a possibility that there could actually be a tie. I don't know if this is happening in history before. I don't think it has. I'm calling this possibly the first tie ever in an American election in history. And as you can see, it's possible. These are the numbers. I think it's that close. It's that tight. Right now, I haven't predicted wrong according to what I've been seeing so far. They are talking about speculation. I could be wrong on Arizona. I could be wrong on Georgia. North Carolina, I'm worried about because there are many people who are upset about her response with the hurricane response. So that could possibly go red. You never know. Michigan, that's a toss-up. As I said before, they flip-flop, and let's not forget, during the Reagan administration, actually from I believe 60, 70, somewhere around to like 88, right when Reagan was like the last president in which Michigan has voted for in terms of Republican, where it's turned up being a red state. So we've been blue for many a couple decades here, but things can change. So I'm calling it a dead heat, 269 each. What happens from here? I don't know. Isaac, you say you looked up something. I haven't even got that far to see what would happen.
Yeah,
if it was a deadlock.
Yeah, it has happened a couple times before, Grant, and there is something that we have to be aware of, not only because this is a real possibility, as you've so aptly pointed out, Grant, but also because it's something that Trump and Republicans, in particular Mike Johnson, may be counting on. And I want to say a little bit more about that. So first off, the mainstream media has projected this to be a really close race. In addition to that, the right-wing actors that are supporting Trump actively and financially with deep pockets are also doing all they can to create the impression that Donald Trump is not just in a close race, but that he's winning a close race, that he's winning it decisively. And so it's important here that I thought for us to talk a little bit about something that David Rothkopf from the Daily Beast published recently. He says that they're not playing to win the election, they're playing to steal the election, which fits perfectly with what you're saying, Grant. So when I talk about some of the things that Trump actors are doing, they're in control of pollsters and agencies that put information out to the public that create this impression that Donald Trump is ahead. And so in the last week alone, there have been 75 fake or misleading polls that cost tens of millions of dollars to generate and get out into the ether. These polls, these surveys come from places like Polymarket and Tip Insights. Polymarket in particular is funded by a guy named Peter Thiel, who is in his pockets to get Trump elected. And then Tip Insights is another one that has all sorts of right-leaning tendencies. They do surveys, but they're also a journalist organization as well. They promote news, they have editorials. And take a look at some of the headlines. If you go to their website that you'll see published, you can see that there's definitely not just a right lean, but a far right lean in the way that they're approaching the way that they cover news and the kinds of positions that they take. And so these particular actors are creating this oppression among Republican loyalists and MAGA cultists that Trump is not just leading, but leading decisively. That, it's close, but he's going to pull it out on all these key races. The reason why that's important is because Mike Johnson and Donald Trump have said publicly that they have a big secret in store, that they have something planned that will help Trump get over in this election. And so Trump's exact words were, I think with our little secret, we're going to do really well with the House, right? Our little secret is having a big impact. This is what he said in one of his rallies when he was had Mike Johnson in the House also to listen. So he says, we're going to take the Senate pretty easily. We're going to get congressmen elected. And then he says, he and I, Mike Johnson and I, have a secret. We'll tell you about that when the race is over. And Mike Johnson said something similar, but wouldn't necessarily allude to what that secret was. He later then said, the secret is just to get out and vote. But the fact is that there is something called a contingency election. A contingency election is when neither candidate seizes 270 electoral votes. That's what's needed to get the majority of the 538 electoral votes. Now, they can get this contingency election in a number of ways. They can get it because one candidate or the other simply fails to get to 270, as you pointed out, Grant. They can also get a contingency election achieved if they can get electoral results thrown out. They could do that either through the House, or they can do that by contesting elections and getting those contests kicked up to the U.S. Supreme Court, which would potentially side with Donald Trump and his campaign to toss out the results of a particular state election or two. If something like that happens, if a contingency election happens, the House decides the next president. Because in that situation, each particular state has a delegation worth 1 vote. So 50 votes. And right now, of those state delegations, of which there are 50, Republicans control 26. So a contingency election, although Mike Johnson and Donald Trump, let's be clear, have not said those words, it is a very real possibility given the way things are being orchestrated. So I wanted to get your reactions to that before we jump into Amari's election map. Any thoughts, any reactions to the possibility of a contingency election, guys?
I think any opportunity that they get to effect some shenanigans on the presidential race, they will take. If we have an incredibly close race, we said before, Trump has loaded the Supreme Court. He and Mike Johnson have a little secret. He's got all the pieces in place to ineffectively assure that he wins a close race. And I think they are alluding to that. That's why our one major hope is the resounding victory. I don't want to say landslide, but a resounding victory for Harris is really our only hope to avoid a legal challenge to the election and a possible theft of the election, or whatever you want to call it. I don't a legal challenge and some type of legal victory that would give Donald Trump and Trump world the presidency. You could argue it for decades, and it'd be another conspiracy theory laden, controversial subject that nobody would ever do anything about because Donald Trump's still gonna get that 4 years. Plus another 4 if his base is sufficiently grown and satisfied enough to give him another term as president.
I would say that these are not like surprises. These are things that I think that if you spend time in your civics class, your social studies classes, you would have learned these things. And I think that this is not a like a coup from the Republican standpoint. This is a miseducation from a Democratic standpoint. Educating the voters on what the play is. This is not new. I think that understanding that the goal is to. I mean, like I said before, the goal is for disruption. I think that's the play to lead the disruption. 2 is that it could go to the Supreme Court like it did with Gore. That's part of the play also. Knowing these type of things, the fight should have been that too. I don't think it was that. I don't think that was advertised. I don't think that was the ads that didn't show that sincerity or that how serious you get to that. If they should have been talking about those things as the possibility of that happening. If they didn't. Now if this happens like this is that's fair play. I mean, it's fair play is legal. It's legal. Same thing with the polling you were speaking about earlier. Why is it that Democrats seem to be so responsible, so reactionary to their actions, and then when they cry wolf, when things don't go their way, they could have also spent money on polling, those type of things to make sure that asking certain questions to make sure that it appears to be some way. That's not illegal either, but for some reason they always want to play, want to play soft, want to play fair, and this is not a fair fight. And this is why you get the loss. This is why you take it to these extremes and hoping that America will be a better place than what it really is. So all these thoughts go into on how the Democratic Party did not execute what they should have. It's all about execution. Where's your polling? Where's your way showing how she was leading or properly leading? They could do the same thing to galvanize people to come to vote. They could do the same thing by telling people, you know what, we could do this. Supreme Court is where it's going. They didn't do it, and so that's their fault. So it comes to this. It's not so much somebody stole it. No, you lost it because you didn't prepare for it.
Dukes, talk to us about your electoral map.
Oh man, so I think that everything is going how I guessed. I thought I put Georgia in there. I wasn't too sure. Um, wasn't too sure. I think Georgia's probably going to be the one that's going to tell if she wins or not. But there's no sleepers in there. I think Michigan is up for grabs. So for me, it was either between Michigan and Georgia. So I just went optimistically thinking, yeah, she's able to pull out both. I think what happens in Wayne County, Oakland County, and Macomb County, it's a big telltale sign of what's going to happen what happened with Michigan. So I think those three counties are going to be the most important. See how big, how much she may lose percentage-wise from what Biden had 4 years ago. That's going to be the telltale sign that she pulls out of Michigan. Georgia still has some counties, some big counties that need to report in, but they had so many people early voting and mail-in voting. So who knows how many votes are out there?
Mm-hmm.
Just seeing North Carolina go back to red, and that could flip flop all night long too. So, man, I don't know, man. So far, my map looks like how I projected so far versus Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia right now is trending towards Trump, but that's also with I don't even think they've counted half of the vote, and they haven't really gotten into.
It's 50. Yeah, it's about 53%.
Yeah, they haven't gotten anywhere close to the like Atlanta metro area, and then in North Carolina, she seems to have a slim lead, but I don't know where exactly that vote's coming from. But right now, she does have a slim lead there, and in Pennsylvania, she's up by a lot, but they've only got about 10% of the vote counted. So
the problem in Atlanta, she does have like 72% of Atlanta has turned in votes.
Okay,
and that's not too great. And Gwinnett County is at 18% turned in, so we have to see with that. But you got Savannah, 93%. That's not so. There was like three areas that was under concern: Savannah, Augusta, and the Atlanta region, and they have quite a few votes turned in. So she would need a lot. Even Columbus would need that to show out a little bit. In order for her to pull out of Georgia.
Yeah. All right. Well, so then let's go back to the main map and look at it and just see how that stacks up. So these are all the states that are projected that have wide margins, and then the swing states there are in a cream color. So Georgia right now looks like it could go to Trump. North Carolina and Pennsylvania are trending Harris, and they just started counting the vote in Michigan. So
North Carolina just went red.
Oh, did it? Got it.
Did it? It's still saying this. Let's see. Okay, I'm seeing it's still getting counted, but
it's trending red rather.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, like I said, it's a possibility. She, that hurricane really that 370 was it? They got $375 for the hurricane relief.
North Carolina has black Nazis, yo.
mm-hmm. Jan mentions though too, and she's right that there were some bomb threats in Atlanta suburbs. Polling there was delayed. They extended the time, I believe it was by about an hour. So that could still be a factor in the count that's happening there. But Jan also, she asked us to respond to this question that she has. And Grant, I want to get your thoughts on this first, and then jump back to the rest of the group. So she says, Kamala has such a positive, professional, compelling, and frankly beautiful presence. I don't understand why she's not winning by a landslide. Would be interested in your thoughts about that. So Grant, what do you think? Why don't you kick us off on that? What are your thoughts?
I mean, so she does. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but the issues I've had with her, and if I could have been her campaign manager, I would have. I think she tried to win votes by popularity, meaning or I should say popularity. What I should say, winning through others who are popular, like a lot of famous people, a lot of stars. She wanted to dazzle people with Megan Thee Stallion, Usher, bringing out Oprah. I wanted to see more who she is. Like, for instance, I wanted to get more personal. I think what Obama did right is because we were allowed to come into his personal space. We got to see where he, his father was in Africa. We got to see Michelle's mother and her brother. We got to meet who they were. We just don't know enough about her. And I think that if she portrays who she is, but I think there's some distrust there because we don't know any further other than the fact that on the surface of her being married, and then also she tried to play the mother role, which people had a problem with because she doesn't have children. They're actually her husband's children, and she tried to say a couple of things that she actually birthed children, and people had a problem with that. I just wish she would have been a little more authentic. I guess what I'm trying to say here. I think she does have the temperament of a president. I think she does have the right ideas, her views. She's not a charlatan like Trump has been acting as all this time, and so I think people will like to see her because of her demeanor and who she is. But people have questioned, why was she so silent? Why was she in the background for 3.5 years? Where was she at? I think people just don't know who she is as a true person, and bringing up celebrities to vouch for her just wasn't enough for some folks. So that's what I would have liked to see. I just don't feel like people know her enough.
Hey, you got that clip I sent you with the dude with the cowboy hat on it?
Cowboy hat?
Yeah, I sent you. Yeah.
No, I don't have that one.
That's the one. That's the one that answers that question. Because I think this more or less has a lot less to do with her, but the more to do with him. And in that clip, he more or less explains who America is.
Is that did Van Lathan? Is that the one with Van Lathan?
Yeah, with Van. Yeah, with Van. Yeah.
He has a cowboy hat on?
Yeah, I think so. You got it?
Okay, yeah. We can jump to that in just a second. What do you think though, Tim?
I think that the bar is unnaturally higher for people like Kamala Harris. I think that more people are going to be more critical of a candidate like Kamala Harris for various reasons, whatever reasons they have or whatever excuses that they make. Jan said, we know who Trump is, and that is also true. Perhaps not enough people know Kamala Harris, but you would think that enough people know who Donald Trump is and would illustrate that at the polls. But again, I go back to that it's always an uphill battle for people like Kamala Harris and I know this is a familiar line of reason for Black and brown people. There's always expert, overt criticism of Black and brown people at every stage of life, be you working at McDonald's in the white neighborhood, or be you in corporate America or in politics. Your scrutiny will be much more intense, much more focused, and much more pointed than the scrutiny of Donald Trump. As we've seen, in this election. The far right, according to the far right and the right, there's nothing that she ever did in her whole life that was worth anything in comparison to Donald Trump. And we see that simply is not true. I mean, she's a better candidate, but I don't know where the truth lies as far as the Republican Party and Trump supporters, because they live in kind of an alternate reality. Yeah, I agree with you, Jan. I agree with you 100%. Being a woman is no picnic, and a black or brown woman on top of being a woman. I think it was Zora Neale Hurston who called the black woman the mule of the world in one of her literary expositions. Being a woman is no joke. And for a woman like Kamala Harris to be where she is and have come to the point in life where she's at, the scrutiny is going to be intense.
Mm-hmm. So there's three things that I want to say. Let me see if I can remember all of them. I think the first is that I don't think that she separated herself enough from Biden's record. And by that, what I mean is, first of all, she didn't explain that when people said, well, you've had 3 years to do all of these things, why haven't you? She didn't articulately enough say and forcefully enough say, well, we have done those things. When we took office, inflation was this, or the economy was this. There wasn't enough emphasis on the shambles in which Trump left the economy and how she and Biden improved the economy and the steps that they took to improve them. And in that, she never said it's true that inflation became high. It created other challenges, but we moved our economy, we moved our country off of the precipice of collapse, which is where it was when we took office because of Donald Trump's terrible handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. How often did we hear her or any of her surrogates talk about Trump's handling of the COVID-19 pandemic? It's as if it never happened, frankly. So she didn't distance herself from the record enough and portray herself uniquely in her own way. And she didn't also articulate how bad things were when she and Biden took office.
None of that would have mattered, though. None of that mattered.
I'm talking. Let me finish.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. The other thing, though, that she has no control. And then the other thing is, as we got to know her, her policies weren't actually that progressive. If this were 1980, her platform would look just like Ronald Reagan's. So she's not actually a progressive, and young people want a more progressive leader, and she has not articulated a progressive platform. Gaza is the easiest example that I could point to there, and that's why a lot of young people are sitting this election out or voting third party because of that position. The last thing, and the other reason, is because Trump is a white man, and he can say whatever the hell he wants to say. He can do whatever it is he wants to do, and it won't matter. He said some of the most despicable, ridiculous, hate-filled, vile that one could ever imagine. I don't even think that presidential candidates in the early 1900s spoke the way he does about people of color and about women and about immigrants. No one has said the things that he said. The only way that a person, most people, I'll say, would turn on Trump, the only way that his base, let's say, would turn on him is if he magically woke up to be a black man. And I'm crediting Tim Hampton for that statement because it's the absolute truth. The only way that his base would leave him is if he magically woke up to be a melanated person. Period. That's the only way. So that's the last thing, and probably the most important thing that, I mean, look, check this out. I mean, this is what they think of Donald Trump. This is what they think of this guy. This is what they think of him, right? So, like, there's no amount of logic, there's no amount of policy, there's no amount of get to know my family, there's no amount of that will win a person over that sees Trump in this way. There's no amount of it. No amount of it. He can call entire protectorates garbage. He can say that immigrants are eating cats. He can talk about grabbing women in parts of their body that a man should never grab. I mean, he can do all of that because it doesn't matter. He's a white man who's rich, and that's what most of his base love and appreciate about him the most. So that's my tirade. What do you guys think of that? What are your reactions? I know, Amari, you wanted to say something, man. Get in on this.
No, I totally agree. I think this has nothing to do with her. It's more about him and people who follow him. And so what it is that in that base grew out of this. I mean, just out of this everything that had nothing to do with her. It just grew. I think that this is who America is. Tim said a long time ago, this is a referendum on he might say white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
This is what this election. It has nothing to do with these two people. It is the direction that the country wants to go in. And so it is when earlier you using words like being fascist, these things are you got to hold these true. It doesn't matter what it is. It has nothing to do with the other party has. What they, I mean, keep in mind, he got 50% of the vote. We're going to say 49% of the vote last time.
Mm-hmm.
70 million people voted for him.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people.
I said from the beginning.
It goes also into what Grant was saying too. Also, he had those 4 years to campaign and have that spend a whole 4 years of complaining of it was stolen. 4 years to gain people to be on the side. So there was nobody campaigning those 4 years, but he had that time grabbing people one by one to the point where it became like a populist type movement. Something to be a part of. Oh, let's go out and do this dance. Let's go out and wear this hat. Let's go. So it became that type of movement where people are. It's something popular to do. He galvanized those people who were on the fence and said, "Listen, this is something. Hey, he's doing. I'm gonna do it too." We had 4 years to do that, and she had 9 months, or less than that. So a lot of it, that's what it is too.
I'd just like to say that in modern history, very few vice presidents have ever really done anything.
No, nothing.
Not what they
don't do anything.
They don't do anything. They are waiting for assassination day or heart attack day or stroke day. Vice presidents do not make policy. They can fill a room. They could get a truck moved off the White House driveway, but they do not have the power to make policy. So I don't think that the argument that she hasn't done anything really holds water as anything other than a political ploy. I do believe that there are problems with her candidacy, her platform, and her past. I know some people who don't like, some brothers in particular, who don't like the prosecutor thing. The fact that she was a prosecutor for so long and she worked in conjunction with the status quo for all those years doing what she did. There's no way to make up for the things that you've done. However, like you said, he's a white man. He do say whatever he wants. He called for people's executions. He said that if people could be killed immediately, and all these types of things, and no one has any scrutiny for him whatsoever. Kamala Harris says thank you too many times, and it makes Fox News.
Hey, look, Tim, I want to play the clip that you handpicked, and I want you to react to it. Like, we'll change the subject briefly because I know there was a clip that you felt very strongly about articulating here, and there was a thread that you wanted of a conversation that you wanted us to have. So let's do that now. And then Grant, I want you to jump right in after Tim. I want to get your reaction, and then Amari, we'll play that clip with Van Lathan and Rachel Lindsay, and I want to get your reaction to that. So let's jump into a couple other things. Right now, nothing has changed in the political.
Well, 9 o'clock is coming.
Yeah, 9 o'clock is coming. So there'll be some new results coming in. But let's spend a little time, Tim, on your conversation. We'll check in with the polls after that, and then Dukes, I want to get into the clip that you had provided. Okay, so here's the clip. This is Byron Donald walking into a Trump rally on his way to speak to the crowd there. So give me a second to pull that up, and then Tim, I want to get your reactions. All right.
Oh, I wish I was in a land of plenty. Old times are never forgotten.
All right, so Tim, explain to us what we just heard there. It's important that we understand what he's saying, because that's the thing that I think matters there.
What that was Elvis Presley's rendition of Dixieland. Oh, I wish I was in the land of cotton. Old times there are not forgotten, are the first two sentences of the song. And that's what Byron Donalds marched out onto the stage at this last rally in Madison Square Garden. I don't know if he chose it or they chose it, but the fact that this brother walked out to the anthem of the antebellum South speaks volumes to the Black bourgeois in the United States and our political elite and super elite in this country. I say our very, very loosely. But this man is on the world stage leading, so to speak, for a political party that represents another community that is nowhere near anything like his own. And it speaks to E. Franklin Frazier's argument about the Black bourgeois from 1954 being absent as leadership in the Black community. Mm-hmm. This is a man who is well educated and articulate and really very smart, who is advocating for Jim Crow. Now, you know, we've all seen those clips. He had that issue where he spoke about how the Black family was stronger during Jim Crow and these things. You know, that's Byron Donalds. Is he leadership for a Black community if one exists? Potentially, but not as far as he's concerned, because all of his energy, his message, everything that he does is to benefit a community that will never accept him. And if he doesn't know that now, he should have known it when they played I Wish I Was in Dixie when his ass walked out on stage. But that is the dilemma of the MAGA Republican and the Black Trump supporter. They live in alternate realities. They don't hear and see things the same as we do. What self-respecting Black man would have continued out onto the stage and made a speech for the racist, ridiculous, bigoted, reprehensible, disgusting, nasty Republican Party to I wish I was in the land of cotton? He's not seeing and hearing things the way the rest of us are. Neither are the rest of the MAGA Republicans out there, because you can't tell me they're the party for law and order when their candidate has 34 felonies and he's an adjudicated sex offender, fraudster. They don't live where we live. Mm-hmm. They don't eat where we eat. They don't speak the language that we speak.
Tim, sorry, Grant, what's your reaction? That was powerful, Tim. That was powerful. You broke it down, man. You broke it down. What do you have, Grant? What do you want to add there before we jump into this next clip?
I mean, that's pretty telling when you come out to that type of you strut out on stage and that's your background music. Trump, I mean, so here's my thing with Trump. I think that just by that does say a lot about who he is, but it's also a bit of pandering going on as well. And I hate the fact that Black folks have been accused of identity politics when it comes to voting for Kamala, but no one's talked about identity politics when they voting for Donald Trump. There are white people who distinctly just won't vote for a black person, period.
Right.
And no one's talking about that. He certainly has pandered and he has embraced racist white people on many different levels in this country. He also has pandered towards poor white folks as well. That's why he has won all Appalachia. That's why he's won most of the South, won most of the West. These small rural towns and he also has pandered to religious beliefs due to the fact of pro-life. So that's who Donald really is. He's an actor. Okay, I don't really think he really. At the end of the day, Donald wants to do for him. I think he really wants to see himself as the president. I think he's very, very arrogant person who really, when it boils down to it, he's never going to come sit down and have dinner with anybody in West Virginia or anybody in Alabama or Mississippi. Matter of fact, the fact that he is going to choose to spend his election night in Palm Beach, Florida, with the people who he really wants to be around, and that's the elite. That's who he represents. I'm not even honestly. I'm not. You guys can tell by what I've said so far in the last couple of shows that I'm not really impressed with either one of them. I do think it's going to be politics as usual. Whoever gets in, I do think I'm the person that believes in the shadow government. So you don't want to hear my opinion on all this, but so therefore these two are published no matter which way it goes. But as far as what I just heard, and you're right, Tim, I mean, anybody that can side with somebody who good and well if you went to a Trump rally. Matter of fact, it was a black guy that was beat who was jumped. I believe it was somewhere in Michigan on the side.
I think it was in Grand Rapids. That's around the area. It was on this side of the state, I think.
Grand Rapids. He was jumped. There are clearly people at that rally who are truly there for hate and are voting on identity. This is a white man. This is the only person who I want to see as my president. If it's not a white man, I don't recognize that person at all. They had Hillary and they didn't want Hillary. So obviously they didn't want a white woman. There are people who just strictly want to have a white man as the helm because that's what they've been raised. That's how they've been taught. That's how their household structure is. That's what they've seen for centuries in this country. So you can't bring somebody in to mix up. In some cases, you do have some misogynists who don't want a woman, but you do have those who strictly are saying on identity politics, for the sake of identity politics, I ain't voting for Donald Trump because he's a white man.
Hey, Dukes, did you I know that they just flashed some updates. Was there anything that you wanted to add in terms of where some of the key swing state races?
No, everything is going as projected. Nothing major has more or less changed in my assessment.
Yeah, it looks like she's leading in a couple of the key swing states, and Trump is leading in a few others, but nothing has been called yet so far. So basically, if we go back to the original map, we'll keep showing this original map. Nothing has changed from this map. There have been no updates or anything like that. For those that don't have their TV on or don't want to have their TV on right now, nothing has changed on this map yet. None of the swing state races have been called. Even in the states where Kamala Harris has a lead, it's too early to project those states. Same with the handful of states there where Trump has a lead. I believe that Kamala Harris has a lead in Michigan, and I think it's Pennsylvania, and then Trump has a lead in Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Georgia, and the Nevada and Arizona. Those polls have not closed yet, so nothing has changed yet so far. There's no feeling yet one way or the other about who's going to win this race. As I mentioned earlier, we won't know by the end of the night who will win. We will come back tomorrow night, though, to break down what's happened, what's transpired, look at the state of things. So we will be back here live. We may not all be able to make it, but we'll be here tomorrow night as well. But if you're listening with us, just know the race will not end tonight, nor was it ever going to end tonight because of how close many of these races are. There was no universe in which the race would end tonight, given the state of the swing states and how close many of those elections are. So Nothing yet has happened that would swing the race one way or the other. We're just kind of waiting to get some more information as the votes come in. So we're just sort of unpacking things and reacting to things that have happened recently. And to that point, Grant, and to something that we were talking about earlier, when we were talking about why does Trump have this unmitigated support? Why isn't this a landslide in favor of Kamala Harris? Why isn't the popular vote swinging decisively in her favor? Well, the point about Donald Trump magically waking up as a melanated person and that being the only way he could possibly lose support is exemplified in where was it? Is it North Carolina? Yeah, North Carolina's gubernatorial race where you have Josh Stein and then Mark Robinson, right? And Mark Robinson is the black Republican who, I don't know, about a month ago was implicated in some inappropriate comments on a porn site where he talked about going back to slavery and I'm a black Nazi and making some really lewd comments on a porn site. Now let's be very clear. The handful of comments that have been associated with him, first of all, haven't been proven to be him. It's just been strongly suggested. There's a boatload of evidence suggesting that he made the comments, but he hasn't actually admitted to the comments, and it hasn't been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that he's made the comments. But yet, he has already been projected as the loser in that race. Josh Stein is running away with that race. He's getting raced in that race. It's not even close. It's like 65 to 35%, something like that. So this is a black man who made a foul comment allegedly on a porn site just one time, and his entire political career is now over. Donald Trump has said things like he's been convicted of sexually assaulting a woman, and he could win the presidency tonight. So when we talk about the fact that Donald Trump could only lose his base if he woke up a black man, that is as close to being factually accurate and true as it could possibly be. And Mark Robinson is the proof of that. So I don't know. What do you guys think of that? Any reactions to that point there?
Well, Mark Robinson had some disparaging comments about Martin Luther King as well, and those pretty much verified. Anyone who self-respecting, politically thinking, strategizing black man who's running for public office and says Martin Luther King was lower than a worm, or I forget what he said. Very disparaging remarks about Martin Luther King. He's pandering. He's pandering to a group of people who he knows are potentially going to respond to that rhetoric. And he's trying to endear and ingratiate himself within that population. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. He could don a Klan hood and a pale white horse, and that population in North Carolina still would not vote for him. I used to live in Staten Island, New York. That was, which is notoriously the only county in New York City that goes red in every election. They had a brother running for Republican for the district, one of the districts out there, and a white female Democrat. She got elected. Now, Staten Island, New York is like 1950s Kentucky, only with Russians and Italians, okay? But they elected a white female Democrat in the most Republican-leaning borough in New York City over electing a brother who was a Republican, and it's dominated by Republicans out there. So, yeah, there's definitely some identity politics being played here. Donald Trump has pandered to the lower echelons, lower strata, lower educated, less sophisticated, more intellectually compromised base, and it's worked for him. It has worked for him. And those who are smarter than he is and smarter than his base are going to use him to manipulate those people to make a whole bunch of money if he gets elected, and to keep us fighting amongst ourselves in the colonial tradition so that we don't gang up on them.
Now, I will say to his credit, do understand this is a game of numbers, and you do go after marginalized individuals who are often not spoken to. and that's what he did. He went after people who are not spoken to, the undereducated white folks. You know what I'm saying? He spoke to them. He spoke to them directly, and because beforehand they were never directly, talked to, and he got them galvanized. And there's a whole bunch of them that he got him the same way probably Obama got people out to vote. He got them to come out and vote.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that that's something that needs to be looked at. That there's people out that are want to be talked to, want to be addressed. That I think that the Democratic Party has not gained a hold of. The last election, there was a thing of Republicans going out, putting money in Hispanic neighborhoods, having offices there. So it's the touch, right? I'm here. It's the I care about you, putting money there, as in let's do some things together. That Democrats took those people for granted.
Mm.
I commend what happened in Detroit, because what happened. Not saying that Muslim population wants to go this way, but let's just say that, and because this is what I've always said, let's just say that they did this. We're going to, on purpose, push our vote this way for this election. So for the next year or the next 4 years, when you come at me, my vote matters. Because now, in that area, in that region, you have to speak their language. You have to, right? You have to. You can't take them for granted. They showed you that, especially if Michigan is termed. You have to sit back and say, oh, this is a population that matters. Let me talk to them and see what their concerns are. Because nobody did it. You took it for granted. Matter of fact, in Michigan, they even tried to put money. They put money behind that actor to come in and try to take her spot. What's it, Harper? Last name Harper.
Hill Harper.
He came in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you disrespected who was there, and by trying to get her replaced, and now that vote is going somewhere else. So it means you have to speak to this population now and see exactly what their needs are because of the situation. Now, the thing is, if African Americans would learn this lesson right here, I take a loss. I take a loss once for them to come back, to sit back and say, and so that's that politics of doing things for a reason. So this is why I think African Americans have been taking some losses somewhere, because there's not a push to talk to our needs or our concerns, because Democrats already expect that vote to be there, so it's been taken for granted, right? Same thing with the black male vote until now, right? Now it's like there's maybe a small percentage of black male, but a lot have been talked to about black men voting for Trump. Why? Because no hands was placed on black men. People want to be wanted. People want to be loved on.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't love on me. You're saying that you don't care about me. And for such a long time, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party has been doing that to African Americans.
I got one thing to say. There is a ton of white supremacy in the Arab community.
Yeah.
A ton of it. These Arabs that y'all are talking about, I know what they look like. Let's put it that way. There is a ton of white supremacy in Latin culture. There is a ton of white supremacy in Puerto Rican culture. Ain't nobody been loving on Puerto Ricans. Trump threw paper towel at them, and it was Puerto Ricans for Trump. Ain't nobody been loving on no Arabs in this country since September 11th, except other Arabs. Okay? And they ain't been touching these folks. There's just that air of white supremacy. I don't want to say just, because just is an absolute, but there's definitely an air of white supremacy in these cultures that we're talking about that they haven't said anything about.
But
you know?
I agree with
Puerto Rican come out was like, yeah, he talked bad about black people. Fuck him. They was like, no, he called us garbage.
Yeah, right, exactly. They ain't say nothing. They ain't say nothing beforehand until It mattered until they said something about them. But
Nothing.
he's been
And
saying
they
these type of
wasn't
things for the
They weren't
last.
putting up
you're
Republican
right.
community centers in Puerto Rico. There probably ain't no Republican community center out there where all them Arabs are either, because ain't nobody messing with Arabs. Everybody's scared of them. The Arab vote is an incidental aspect of the white supremacy in that community because they do not mess with dark brown people.
But that's just it. That's the part of they think they do, and I still don't understand why they vote in that way. I understand that, but I do if it was a political move to sit back and say I'm going to do it so I can be seen, not because I believe in it. Sometimes you got to take the gamble for the long run. If that
Trump
was the play,
instituted the Muslim ban. That was Trump.
No. I get it. No,
It was the first thing he did too.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it was a right decision to make, but in the next 4 years, it matters. For the next 4 years, now they got some
That's
attention.
true.
Keep in mind, they went Republican when the district leader is a Democrat. That district leader, I forgot her name, last name Tlaib. She's a Democrat.
Tlaib, yep.
They even went against that, but because it's a one issue vote.
Yeah.
But like I said, it makes sense if it was a strategy. They sat back and say, let's do this for whatever, for ops or whatever, but let's do this for the ops for the comeback next time. I'm with that 100%. I see how that can work out. But if for another reason, keep in mind you said that's the first thing he did was to kick y'all out.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a nice kick out. It wasn't like let's go to court about it. You're gone. We got both ready to take you back.
Yeah, he did. That's true, but make no mistake about it. This is all about their family in Gaza. This is about their heritage. This is about their culture. Yeah, they're being used in a sense to say that they're going to really believe that Donald Trump. And first of all, we know he's not going to end the war in 24 hours like he said he's going to do when he gets in office. That's impossible. So that's just that's a farce. And that's problematic. Number one is that he's also going to deliver empty promises. But that is powerful. You raise a good point, Amar. I mean, that's why I don't understand why black folks can't see this as being an example for us to get off this faithful Democratic Party. Whoever's a Democrat, just automatically putting in a straight ticket. Do your research. Understand that we have our own voices that we've been overlooked for decades, that no one has really played into any agenda that we've had. So we need, I said this last election, that if we, for one presidential election race, that we voted either for a third party candidate, Green Party, just totally took our vote somewhere else. Yes, we probably will get something done. There probably will be more respect, but there's no respect there if you can throw out Megan Thee Stallion and she can gyrate on stage and all of a sudden, and we got them. We can throw up Usher to sing a little woo and do a little step. Oh, we got their vote.
Look at Tim. Hey, Duke, look at Tim. Look at Tim.
You know, it's not enough. You can't pander all these entertainment folks and say that's enough for black folks. It's not enough. We haven't got our needs met under any president. So
I would respect that move if they spoke to those black intellectuals and had them out first. As in, these are candy. And so like people spoke and then maybe it's a concert afterwards. I'm with that 100%. But for them to be the main course, that's the problem. There's always been a problem, as in they have more to say than people who've been doing politics for 30, 40 years.
Yeah, my problem with the whole single issue vote, the war in Gaza, and that people over there, they really think the Republican Party with all them red-faced racists are going to be like, yeah, let's stop killing brown people after 500 years. Let's stop. Let's just end the war. Let's not kill any more brown people because these Arabs voted for Trump and Trump told another lie and said he was going to stop the war. Come on, man. You think Netanyahu cares about the Arabs in Michigan? You think Netanyahu cares about what Trump tells the Arabs in Michigan? Netanyahu is going to kill Arabs no matter what. Democrat, Republican, green, yellow, orange, red. They're going to keep killing them people. And the Republicans, Democrats, whoever, are going to keep shipping them weapons. Okay. So
Shipping them weapons.
I don't see how Arabs could think that the Republicans, who are traditionally way more violent, way more war hawking, and have supported Israel tooth and nail for how many years, just like everybody else in this country. So I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. What I am buying is all the eye candy. You're right about that argument. It means nothing. Megan Thee Stallion has been turning me off for 15 years, and you want to trot her out like I'm supposed to get behind her? You know? Yeah, you're right about that. You're 100% right about all the eye candy they trotted out like that's supposed to impress people. But you are talking about Black people. That is their royalty. That is the people who they look up to, the Bill Cosbys and the Oprahs and all these people. That's their royalty.
But that's less than them. I can see if they use those names to galvanize those people to register and did some things to get a younger population out to turn out to the polls. You do use that because that is who they listen to, right? But that's not the same thing as having to do a concert. You gotta have them in the streets, have them, doing some work in some groundwork. All right, that's how you get them. Imagine you seeing Usher in your neighborhood signing up people, register people to vote. That's a big thing. I know. You know what I'm saying? Do that, but just the concert doesn't do it. Unless the thing was to raise money, and that could be something totally different.
Well, the other thing too is that Kamala Harris and her campaign, and maybe even her handlers, to your point, Grant, about who's really calling the shots behind the scenes for both parties, they made a strategic decision to move right instead of moving left. Kamala Harris could have said, if I'm elected, I will trigger the clause in Biden's foreign assistance executive directive that allows us to cut off aid when human rights violations have been shown or been proven. She could make a pledge about in the United Nations, we will support X, Y, or Z. I mean, there are lots of things she could say that are short even of there's a genocide happening and it has to stop now. I would cut off all aid to Israel on day one. Like, she doesn't even need to go that far. She could have made some diplomatic pledges that were completely within her power, and she decided not to do that. Instead, she said, and Tim, this is something that you've repeated many times, I'm committed to ensuring that the United States remains the most lethal fighting force in the world. Now, she didn't have to say that. She did not have to say that in the way that she did. There was a decision made at the beginning of her campaign that she was going to move further to the right instead of further to the left. And that's why she's talking about putting Republicans in her cabinet and reaching out to get Republican speakers and supporters. It's why Kinzinger was the speaker that went on right before she did at the Democratic National Convention. The Democratic Party, I'll say it again, her platform looks exactly like Reagan's platform from the 80s. She is not a progressive. She's barely even a liberal, right? So she is definitely not on or supportive of any of the progressive policies that a lot of people I think would like to think that she stands for and believes in. Well, like, we were just talking to someone on Facebook the other day, getting angry at one of our posts saying, well, Kamala Harris can't say what she's going to do in Gaza and in Palestine. I'm like, well, why can't she? She could say something, but she has refused to do that. So there's been a calculated risk here. But anyway, let's move. Dukes, I want to go back to you, but I want to show that clip that you had selected for us to watch. So I'll play it, and then I want you to get the first reaction. All right?
All right. So
let's go to this clip. This is two people talking. This is Van Lathan, who's a producer / social media personality, and then it's Rachel Lindsay, who also she's an attorney, and she's also a social media presence as well. So let's get their analysis of Donald Trump and this election. Let's go for it now.
We've never seen anyone treated with the singular amount of white privilege that Donald Trump is being treated with. This is a masterclass in white privilege. Trump can't say enough to be racist.
Correct.
He can't commit enough crimes to be a criminal. He can't fail enough to be a failure. And he can't say enough stupid things to be stupid. He is so shielded and insulated by the idea and the concept of whiteness that he is unfucking touchable.
Yeah.
The thought conjured around him matters more than any reality. Any reality. He is a Christian that doesn't know the Bible, that fucks porn stars, that is
grabs
mean,
women by the pussy.
grabs women by the pussy, is the least Christ-like, but the sheer promise of the whiteness that exists inside of Donald Trump is enough for everyone, white and black people, a lot of them who worship whiteness and aspire to the level of whiteness that Trump has. It's enough for them to say, hey, he's still our guy, no matter what.
It's the whiteness he guarantees to protect. That's what he represents, right? It's their being that he guarantees to protect. And that's true. That's something that they won't say, but that they're voting for.
Yeah, that was the realest thing I've. Yeah.
So for me, that has nothing to do with the candidates. It has everything to do with Tim was saying that whiteness is on referendum right now. Whiteness is being attacked. This is where it came in 4 years ago, when this is where like the whole immigration thing is a big deal, because it's understanding that if people keep coming across the border in the next 10, 20 years, white people are going to be a minority soon. And that's scary. It goes into this abortion ban, not so much it being about religion, but white people not producing as much as other races are doing, and that's scary. It's so that's scary to the point where that's lowering the numbers also. So whiteness is on attack, and coming off the Obama years, white power, is also front and center. So I think that's always been America. It's just right now it's front and center.
America was forged, founded, built, and maintained on racist, white supremacist social constructs, and it's deeply ingrained in pretty much every aspect of American culture. I think more so than anything else, white supremacy is like the realest thing in America. All these people that I've seen online talking about why they are no longer voting for Trump and why they finally dumped Trump and all this kind of stuff, talked about the fact that he doesn't have any policies, or the fact that he is childish, or the fact that he lies all the time. Almost to a person, they never said he's a racist piece of trash. I can't stand his racism. I can't stand the white supremacy and the bigotry. He sleeps with porn stars. He cheats on his wives, and he all these things. Never, almost never. He's a white supremacist. He's terrible for humanity. He's terrible for the American people. White supremacy is terrible for mankind, and that's his whole message. None of that from almost anybody. As a matter of fact, all these black folks who are supporting him, the super elite blacks who are supporting him, are not hearing any of that either. They're not hearing it, or they're not listening to it, or they don't care, And I think the reason that so many people have been able to overlook Trump's overt racism is because they don't care. They don't care if he's racist because racism is as regular as apple pie and baseball in the United States. They don't care about that. It doesn't even really faze them. The people that affects are the marginalized people that nobody's reaching out to and shaking their fingers at when they mention it. So it's like, he can't do any wrong in that respect. He can't.
I mean, one thing.
It looks like, real quick, G, it looks like there's still no calling the race in Georgia, but it looks like Trump is up by about 6% with about 75% of the vote reported. And most of the vote that still needs to be counted is Fulton County, Gwinnett County, and then there's another one surrounding the Atlanta area. So
those are pretty big counties, yeah.
Those are the 3 big counties that accounts for what's been uncounted in Georgia. So it's unclear whether that will be enough for Harris to overtake the deficit she finds herself with as of right now. But it will be closer than it looks right now, but it's still unclear there. No other races have been called in swing states yet. Go ahead, Grant.
No, I was going to say that. Van hit the nail on the head about, and it explains kind of what you were saying, Tim, on how why would a black person vote for a racist? Well, Van was explaining that black folks historically have looked up to white, larger than life characters as being their heroes. When they unfortunately did not have father figures at home in some cases, so they looked up to the Al Capones, they looked up to the John Gottis, these crime syndicates and these crime families that they emulated, and they actually worship in many cases, and called themselves, even nicknamed themselves after these white characters, and most of them, if not all of them, I'm pretty sure, hated black people. Matter of fact, even some of the movies you watch, they even said some things. They'll call somebody the N-word in a second. But they'll laugh and say, "That's just how Italian people are." Oh, that's just their character. But still, they went and shot up a bunch of people. They went and got a bunch of money. I mean, we unfortunately idolize these characters as being something that they wanted to be. So now they see Donald Trump as being that same person. It doesn't help the fact he's from New York and even talks like some of these Italian mobsters. So they actually are looking up to this guy. And somebody made a comment and said that, some people would be lying to say that they didn't grow up looking up to Donald Trump as being this person that they wanted to emulate because he had money. So it's unfortunate that people are still looking at him in that way, but we have to have deeper conversations as to why we have looked outside our own communities for our heroes instead of looking within, whether it be someone in your family or someone in your friends, someone in your circle, a teacher. I mean, we don't have enough mentors. We don't have enough people we can look up to in a positive light. We wouldn't even be here with Donald Trump. We wouldn't even have these black folks even thinking about voting for Donald Trump, because there wouldn't be no reason for them to look up to somebody like that. But historically, many have, unfortunately. So we need to really do a deeper dive and really look within after this. And this will be the telltale if, in fact, that is the case when we do the numbers and see how many African Americans actually vote. I think they may even get to the point of men versus women. How many African American men voted for Donald Trump? That'll be the telltale as to if that's true of what Van's talking about.
Okay. I want to introduce something to you guys because I think someone made the point earlier. One of you guys made the point earlier that sure we can look at some of the black Trump supporters and some of the ridiculousness that goes along with being a black Trump supporter, but we can't also excuse especially white men in their ridiculous support for this idiot, for this buffoon that is running for president by the name of Donald Trump. And so I've compiled a series of people for us to critique as time permits. So the first that I would like to present as Exhibit A is Dr. Phil, who was at a recent Trump rally and said, by the way, we didn't choose the name for that by random. He's talking about his own media company. He says Merit Street Media. The country was built on hard work, value, and talent, not on equal outcome, not on DEI. This country was built on hard work. And I mean, social media has pointed out, you know, that this is a ridiculous take because no one would know who Dr. Phil was if it weren't for Oprah Winfrey in the very first place. But the other part of this that is ridiculous is that my people love to talk. We love to talk about DEI programs today and how they're putting unqualified people in positions of influence and power. But when the system was constructed all this time, when we had identity politics configured around white supremacy and granting privilege to wealth and land and employment and health on the basis of race, there was nothing wrong with that. But the minute that there's scrutiny placed on the way that a company hires people or the processes through which companies evaluate talent or recruit talent, the minute that white men have to compete on a fair playing field, we scream and we kick and we grab our ball and we run away and we go back home because we know in our heart of hearts that we haven't actually earned the things that we say that we've earned. When we say didn't earn it, we know in our soul of souls that applies to us and our own mediocrity. And the idea of competing against another person on a fair, equal, level playing field is quite simply horrifying to us. And it leads us to say things and do things like Dr. Phil and so many others. We want to reassure ourselves that everything we have is a result of some illusory meritocracy, when in fact the truth is something much more biting, much more crucial, and much more difficult for us to come to grips with, which is that we've never measured up to the standard that we think we emulate. And we're now being revealed to be as mediocre as people have known all along. And it's shocking to us, and it leads people like Dr. Phil to say some of the stupid shit that he said just a few nights ago. So I'm interested to know what you guys think about Dr. Phil's comments and any other additional reactions there to that point.
Tell them how you really feel, Ike.
Right. Dr. Phil came from a woman, got his name from a woman, and his game from a woman. Her name was Oprah. Wouldn't be no Dr. Phil, funny looking ass Dr. Phil, without Oprah. There wouldn't be no Dr. Oz without Oprah. And I guess she helps everybody as much as she can, but they both went Republican and went anti-minority hard and fast, you know. And I wonder how it is that she feels about that. As for, you know, everybody looking up to the anti-hero like Donald Trump, the criminal hero, the mafia hero, the bad guy hero. That's been a big thing in cinema and entertainment for a lot of years in this country. The bad guy that everybody loves to hate, you know, J.R. Ewing back in the 80s, you know, was like a Donald Trump style character. And, you know, he captivated the whole nation. You know, these types of characters have been looked up to. Not only that, every superhero, legitimate, is a white dude. Superman, Aquaman, Batman, Iron Man, they're all white dudes. We got a black superhero. He ain't even American. He's from Africa. You know what I mean? Wakanda forever. We don't get no credit. Is all I'm saying, you know. So I agree with you on the hero worship thing. And Donald Trump was made into a hero long before he won the presidency because of his personality, his persona, and who he was. As for the Dr. Phil comments and, you know, some of the things Dr. Oz said, I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right. They are the DEI candidates who didn't earn it. And who don't deserve it. But I had one man say to me, if you're white, you got wins coming. That's just it. If you're a white man, especially a straight white Christian, you got W's coming. There's just no two ways about it. So, you know, I agree with you. There is definitely a disconnect there between earning it and having it, and actually being the one who built it.
Okay. Hey, Dukes, we have any updates on the election? Anything to report out?
Oh man, I was trying to break down Gwinnett County. Let's see what we got over here. Shucks. I know Illinois is just called.
Yeah, and we can come back. I'll come back to you, Dukes. I'll play. How about this? How about I play this other clip that you had selected, Dukes, and then Grant. Why don't you get the first reaction to this clip, and then Dukes, I'll come back to you on the other end to see if there are any updates.
All right. So let's play this clip now. Grant, this is a clip of some conversation on I believe it's the Young Turks show. And there's one particular commenter, Wajahat Ali, who I believe is a journalist, who just goes in on Donald Trump. And it's one of the great all-time takedowns of Donald Trump. And so I'm wondering what your reaction is on the other side of this. So let's take a listen. And G, you get the first crack at it.
This is me playing the world's smallest violin for all the fake outrage of MAGA and Trump supporters, who I believe are the most fickle, brittle, weak people on earth, who can dispense cruelty and demand civility, who hate safe spaces for everyone, want safe spaces for themselves, and who, by the way, with this hypocritical fake outrage, the reason why I don't think most people will care is because people know what Trump is for the past 9 years. And just yesterday, Donald Trump, who is running for president, Joe Biden is not, and Joe Biden, he's 81 years old, he has a stutter, and by the way, I appreciate the context that he gave. I don't think he needed to, but he did. Donald Trump yesterday, final pitch to the country. You know what he called America? A garbage can. Donald Trump said all of us, 340 million Americans, live in a garbage can. Yes, he did. Yesterday in his speech, he said America is a garbage can. Yesterday, Donald Trump said Democrats, who are the majority, are sick and evil people. Yesterday, folks, Donald Trump, when confronted with these offensive comments,
if you talk about context,
let me finish, Ben, don't gish gallop. Ben, I'm about to kick your ass. Don't gish gallop. Just listen to me. I listen to you.
Dude, you're like a buck 20, and this is what liberals do, okay? I laugh this.
Just let me listen. I'm going to do it with a smile on my face.
Hang on. Calm down.
Beat you up.
Don't talk over each other because people can't hear. But I do really. Hang on. I do want to see. Hang on. Hang on, Ben. Hang on. I do want to see Wajahat try and kick Ben Ferguson's ass. So off you go, Wajahat.
Not going to happen.
All right. I'm going to do it with a smile on my face. I'm going to do it relaxed. Yesterday, when Donald Trump was confronted with, I'm glad you and Ben and Pierce agree that it was horrific, disgusting comments against Puerto Rico, black people, against Jews, against Palestinians, against women, which, by the way, have rallied Puerto Ricans all across America. You know what Donald Trump said? No big deal. Yesterday, this past week, J.D. Vance said, get over it. J.D. Vance, his vice president, is the one who called him Hitler. By the way, guess who said that Donald Trump praises Hitler? 4-star General John Kelly, just in the past 2 weeks. In the final 2 weeks of his campaign to unify America, you know what Donald Trump said? That the people who are against him are enemy of the people, another Hitler line, and he said he would unleash the military and the National Guard against U.S. citizens, against immigrants and migrants. He said he will invoke the Alien Sedition Act that in turn Japanese Americans. This is the same man who ran against the same man who promoted a neo-Nazi conspiracy about Haitian immigrants eating pets, even after he was told it was a lie. The Wall Street Journal, funded by Murdoch, not a left-wing rag, a right-wing outlet, reported that him and Vance were told it was a lie. He still said it, which has caused stochastic terrorism in Springfield, Ohio. So this is Donald Trump. The majority of people don't care. The majority of people know Biden apologized, he stuttered, and the majority of people saw Kamala Harris at the ellipse. 75,000 people came. You saw the last point. Last point I'll make. 75,000 people came out to see Kamala Harris at the ellipse. I'm so glad she was at the ellipse because you know why? It's a contrast. Kamala Harris was there for the Constitution, for the United States of America, for the rule of law. Donald Trump incited a violent insurrection. And just 2 weeks ago at Univision, when the 56-year-old Latino construction worker asked him to apologize for it, he didn't. And you saw that view of those Latino women. He is going to lose. I'm here for the MAGA tears. They're sugar for my chai.
Well, that was certainly a rant.
What do you think, G? What's your reaction? He said MAGA tears are sugar for my chai.
Clearly he can care less. I mean, clearly he's definitely made some great points, and some of it, of course, going back and forth and saying some satire there. But I mean, what can you say though? I mean, what are you saying is basically the character that Donald Trump has painted for him and his constituency, his base. And if we didn't have such outlandish, and we've never heard such rhetoric from any camp, any base, any presidency outside of Donald Trump's. We just never heard anything like this. I've never heard some of the language that's being used from any candidate. So this is why it's so appalling that he's been able to get away with so many different things that he said, so many hateful remarks, some of the type of descriptions he's given for certain people in this country. Now he calls it a garbage can, but yet he's situated down in Mar-a-Lago in his mansion. Certainly, that's not a garbage can. So if you call all the country garbage can, that means your residency too, and all the other homes and things he has in this country. So it's going back to what I said before about him really just caring about Donald. This is about him and all his rich friends. Unfortunately, he has used the American people, the hardworking people, off the backs of poor working class folks. Yes, the Democrats did a horrible job from reaching those folks. Donald Trump sat back and watched those 8 years under Obama. He knew exactly who to approach. When it was his turn to jump on the campaign trail, he knew all the grumblings and rumblings at the dinner tables weren't in Detroit. It wasn't in Atlanta. It wasn't in Los Angeles. It was in those small Appalachian towns. It was in the deep South in Alabama and Mississippi. And he knew that there was a racist rumblings going all throughout the 8 years of Obama's presidency. He knew that the neo-Nazis were growing. He knew there was a huge recruitment process for the skinheads. He knew about the Proud Boys. He strategically linked up with those people in order to get him in office. Now, I'm not saying that he doesn't side with them, and somehow or another Donald Trump's not a racist, not a bigot, that he's not a misogynist. I'm not saying that, but I think he is still using these people. And the reality, the winner of all this is him, and the losers are the American people. I don't know why people can't wake up to that. There will never be a time where he's going to invite somebody into the Oval Office from West Virginia. He's never coming to these people's aids. Yet he can say anything up on stage, and people are so riled up, and they're so Trump at these rallies. But in reality of it is, he's there in a nice $400, $500 suit. The man never even dresses down for these people to come to their level.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I've never seen him paid like that. He's sitting up there as an elite. Why would you? So I'm with the guy. I definitely can see his anger. I can definitely side with some of the things that he said. I think that people have been played. They've been played by him, unfortunately, and it's not going to work in their favor. I've seen the poorest of the poorest people. I saw somebody with a handwritten Donald Trump sign on the back of their car, and the car looked like it might have been a 1998 pickup truck that was on his last leg. But they're supporting Trump. The man sitting at the Mar-a-Lago mansion at this current moment is going to come down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and sit down and have crawfish and alligator at the dinner table. He's not going to be there. He's not even care about you. Yeah. You can rock the Magma hat. The man went on and got some shoes. He was charging $300 to $400 a pair. Who's that? Who's that for? The man's telling you he's only for the elite. Yeah. But for some reason, people think that he's going to make it great again. But all he's going to do is make his rich friends great again, and the working class and poor folks in this country are going to remain at the bottom of the totem pole.
Hey, so Tim, in just a second, I've got something I want you to react to, but before that, Dukes, any updates there that you want to share with?
I don't see, not really. I do see the at this present moment, Iowa is kind of trending blue.
Okay.
which is, I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't see that happening. I was turning blue. Pennsylvania is still, within reach, but it's like 50. She's at 50.5% as of right now. So with 37% of the vote. So maybe those bigger counties may help out. And the same thing with Georgia. Georgia is almost at 80% turned in and he's up 52%.
It's tightening though. It's tightening. She's not even 4 points down now. She's about 3 points down now.
Yeah, so she's at 47.1 beforehand. And so now I know you got another question you had to ask, but at what point do the spoilers come into this and we look at those third-party candidates as if?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I think that's something that maybe tomorrow night we should look at. Because tomorrow night there should be more clarity around which states are going to go to Harris and which will go towards Trump. But I haven't seen anything right now that even remotely suggests that they'll get even a percent, even 1 point in any of these races. Have you seen anything on your end, Dukes? Or
no, I don't see anything. But still, right now, there's a percent out for Stein and Oliver. But they say that 1% that's combined. That 1%.
Okay.
Definitely got closer to 50. Got her closer to 50. Just say all votes went that way. That would at least put her at 48% versus his 51. So those type of things would, definitely matter. But I think that if they combine total gets over for all third-party candidates get over, 1.5%, 2%. I mean, that's definitely we can look at how that affected, the race.
Okay, so let's be clear then. So Kamala Harris is leading in Wisconsin, she's leading in Michigan, and she's leading in Pennsylvania right now. If she wins those 3 states and then holds the other states where she was projected, she wins the presidency.
Right.
It's that simple.
And so in those states we're talking about is California or Oregon and Washington, right? Those are the ones that are the big ones.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and the polls are closing, it looks like, in a few minutes out west. So they will most likely project California to her within a few minutes. I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes of that. So here's the electoral map. And again, what we're looking at is not a finished map. What we're looking at here are the projections. And then the swing states are there in a cream color. So Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada are the swing states, and the others are the states that are projected based on most recent polling to one of the candidates. So far, all of the results we've seen have matched up with these projections. So there's really nothing new to report outside of what's on this map. But based on the results that we have now, Harris is winning Wisconsin, winning Michigan, and winning Pennsylvania. Those 3 states would give her 44 electoral votes, such that North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada wouldn't matter. But to your point, Amari, she would also need to hold California, Oregon, and Washington.
Mm-hmm. Now, keep in mind also in this Minnesota is going, it's kind of red too.
Mm-hmm.
So, that kind of matters. But let's just see. Like, we'll see what happens in the as it ends.
Yeah. Well, I'll come back in just a second, Dukes. Matter of fact, when those polls close, maybe there'll be another slate of updates, or maybe they'll have more to report in Pennsylvania. Now, Tim, you mentioned before in our pre-production chat, you mentioned Le'Veon Bell, and Le'Veon Bell has seemingly struck a strong chord And so I want to give you the chance to talk to us and our audience a little bit about Le'Veon Bell, who recently said that he will leave the country if Kamala Harris wins. So what are your thoughts on our friend Le'Veon Bell here?
You muted. Tim.
Yeah, you're muted, Tim.
Can't hear you.
Oh, my bad. Yes, I probably shouldn't have said what I said anyway. But where you gonna go, bro? Where you gonna go? Probably end up in Europe somewhere, getting random dirty looks at the grocery store, you know. But for people like this brother, who have this opinion of Donald Trump as the savior of the United States, who's going to make America great again, I don't think he understands his position in America. I think since he's probably not been told no since he was 15 years old and became a football star, that he has lost sight of who and what he is in America and in the world. Nobody like you, bruh. Not really. Not really. We've all been to these NFL games, these NBA games. It's mostly white folks in the stands screaming and hollering for him. It's white folks giving him his paychecks. It's white folks who are asking him to sign their jersey. He thinks that he is amongst the status quo. He's a member of the status quo when all he is a dancing bear. And that's all he's ever going to be. And if he leaves the United States because Kamala Harris gets elected, good riddance. You know, I don't remember Samuel L. Jackson's character's name in Django, but it's one less of them. One less of them, you know. But there's a lot of African Americans who feel like that, a lot. And what I'm saying is, in reference to that, and in reference to people like this brother, is that white supremacy is not a skin disease, okay? It's not something that affects your skin and you become a white supremacist. That's not the way it works. It's a mental disconnect, mental and emotional, metaphysical, theological disconnect, set of disconnects that make a black man a white supremacist. There's a whole lot of us out there, brothers, straight white supremacists, straight up. I think we have some slides of a few, but no, man, I have no respect for this brother and what he's trying to accomplish and who he is and what he's doing, because he is lost. I have some sympathy, some pity for him because he is lost. He is. There
you go, Tim. There's your guys.
This is what I call a cadre of chewed up and spit out Negroes, right? Ben Carson. But Ben Carson's worth $30 million now. Ben Carson is a neurosurgeon and an author, published author, best-selling author. He is the black bourgeois incarnate. A man worth $30 million with all this education, articulate brother, smart brother, said Obamacare is the worst thing that happened to America since the Ku Klux Klan. Okay? He's supposed to be leading another community, not stumping for theirs. He's supposed to be putting his time and his energy and his resources into people who he can help and who can help him, not that community, because they don't give a damn about him or what he stands for. Herschel Walker, too stupid to even talk about, so we just gonna glance over that one, but we know what he's all about. A bag of muscles in a suit, muscles in his shit, muscles in his brain, you know, nothing but muscle, and that's it. So people like these three brothers, man, you don't have to be white or light-skinned even to be a white supremacist. It's not a skin disease. It is a set of mental and emotional disconnects that obviously there's a lot of brothers suffering from. Sisters too. Puerto Ricans, Asians, Latinos, Arabs, a lot. White supremacy's got the world fucked up.
Yeah. Hey, so look, Tim, I want to break for a second because there's another video. And Grant, I want to bring you back into the fold. I know Dukes, this is this is a video that you selected for us to listen to. I know you're watching the races.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is I want to put this up because I know right now that Harris is real close to winning Iowa. There's like 80% of the vote reported, and she's got a narrow margin. And here's one of his cultists saying just a few days ago, he's saying that Kamala Harris is not winning Iowa. I'm so certain of it that I'll castrate myself on camera if it happens. Joey Manerino, we're going to be hitting you up for that. We're going to be hitting you up for that. I'm going to be following your Twitter feed. I'm going to be going at you to see where you're at if Iowa comes through for Harris, because you were so sure that Iowa would go towards Trump that you would offer to castrate yourself on camera if it happens. So this is the kind of thing, though. So I think, Tim, this fits with what you're talking about with Le'Veon Bell. I mean, that you would castrate yourself. Why do you think that anyone would want to see you do that? Why would that be a thing that you would say publicly to other people? Why would you offer to mutilate yourself if Kamala Harris wins one state in the presidential election? Why would that be the thing that you offer to the public? It says something about the psychology of these cultists, and I think that fits perfectly with this next clip, Dukes, that you had selected for us to listen to. So, Dukes, in fact, do you want the first try at this one?
No, you go ahead. No, go ahead. You guys are fine.
Okay, so Grant, I want you to take the first shot at this. Dukes, I'm going to follow back up with you to see if you have any reaction, and then Tim, you follow right behind both of those two. So let me get that clip because it's incredibly powerful, given what we've said about Le'Veon Bell and this ignorant fool Joey Manerino. So let's go into this next clip.
Garbage. And at the Trump rallies, they're yelling trash for Trump, trash for Trump. And I saw other people. I saw white guys. I saw Hispanic guys inside trash cans, jumping out of them with Trump signs. White guys with garbage bags that say trash for Trump 2024. And that was kind of like, to me, that was the moment when I realized Trumpism was a cult. That was the moment when I realized liberals are right. That was the moment when I realized it has gone too far. It is Frankenstein's monster. We have created a golem. It is a problem. You know, for years, liberals said, it's a cult. You're in a cult. And I said, you're going to jail. You're going to jail. It is a cult, and we are in it, and you are going to jail. That's how I felt about it for the past 8 years. But then I saw themselves dressing up as trash, like uncritically just dressing up as garbage and saying, we're garbage. Yeah, we're garbage. And I said, yeah, I think we have a problem. It's like that moment in Scientology when.
So, Grant, before you react to that, I want to qualify that Nick Fuentes is virtually an unmitigated white supremacist. So like when we titled that Nick Fuentes social media bigot, he is a bigot. I mean, if you go through his feed and you bother at all to read some of the things that he's said or written, he is an avowed white supremacist. So for him to then say that Trump is a cult is something, right? So Grant, what are your initial thoughts on that?
I mean, it's certainly, Trump's followers, they are somewhat like a cult. But I mean, think about it. I said this before. Trump never let his foot off the gas. So he has developed a cult-like following. And let's be honest about it. Trump has been in front of our face with this ridiculous campaigning methods and styles that we've never seen before since probably somewhere around 2016. I mean, you got to think about it. So he was in presidency from 2017 to 21. So this man's been somewhere around on some kind of, whether it's been social media with Twitter tweets, whether it's somewhere on the news, he has been in our face with this ridiculous rhetoric for almost 8 years. So, what he's referring to is about his followers playing around with Joe Biden's comments about saying, in response to them calling Puerto Ricans a big landmass of garbage, and then here comes Donald Trump pandering it once again. He gets a garbage truck, rides around. This man probably never been 16 feet away from a garbage truck in his entire life. But yeah, he's inside and one all of a sudden because he wants to use his marketing campaign because of what Joe Biden says. And then here his followers comes around. Well, I gotta get in on it too. So what he's saying is crazy, and the fact that they are calling themselves and accepting the fact that they're gonna call themselves garbage is a little absurd. So I mean, and it is very cultish. But again, when you have someone who has recruited people who didn't have anybody to associate with, many of the people that are under Donald Trump's cultist leadership wanted to connect somewhere, but they didn't have anyone to connect with. So now they see this almost like this guy that they grew up with in some of these small rural towns, these redneck towns, that they see him as being one of the guys. When he can care, again, I keep saying this, he can care less. This man really does not care. This man really did go to McDonald's and flip a couple fries. The man probably never even lifted his hand to touch a pot in his entire life. Yeah. But he's in McDonald's. He's at Chick-fil-A down in Atlanta. So he did do a lot of pandering. And it was all because to get votes. And unfortunately, for some people, they took it as he's being real. He's being one of us. He's one of the guys. And so we have him commenting, and I don't know much. I don't know much about the guy. I mean, I'm not surprised if he is a bigot, but the fact that he's even amazed at his constituency, his camp, is even more comical. That he can't even believe these people are accepting some of the ideas that Donald Trump is spewing out, and how easily people are persuaded to become something based upon what someone else says. Again, Biden made the comment, and certainly he slipped on that, and I think he did retract his statement and try to clear it up. I think it was a little too late for that, but again, just one of the Donald Trump's tricks out of the bag that he tries to pull to make fun or to make some type of comic relief in his political campaign, and it played out. I guess at one of his rallies.
Okay. I have a question. Has Donald Trump ever said anything batshit crazy? Anybody?
Yes, of course.
Has he ever done anything?
Of course.
Crazy.
Of course.
So he said crazy stuff. He's done crazy stuff. He's talked about crazy things. Don't that make him crazy? Doesn't that make him crazy? Like, you can't say crazy things all day, every day, and somebody not say, hey, man, you crazy, right? And then his followers putting garbage bags on and dumping garbage on himself and jumping about it. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Making up costumes.
Crazy. And that could be the majority of the country, the majority of the country's voters, these crazy people following this crazy man into this crazy oblivion. You know, that's all I got to say on that.
Yeah. What you got, Dukes?
Still, like I said, still with the critiques. It's the foundation of what many people, you know, how they feel, regardless of what he do, all that he does do, right or wrong. It's them at the core, and they're not going to vote against themselves. And so, even though he said this about his candidate, it doesn't mean he didn't vote for him. You know, and that's just it. At some point, you can point out crazy, but then what do you do with crazy? You know, because then I think that's the testament. What do you do with crazy? And I don't think that people realize that. I mean, you don't elect them to the White House, but these people are willing to take that risk
Yeah.
But what's that based on, though? What is that risk based on? I think we've discussed some of the points. White supremacy, that's probably the major one, But to excuse,
Well, sometimes is that what happens is that people. So this is something that needs to be like addressed too. Sometimes in order to, people have dug their feet in the sand, and when you do that with people, or people do that, in order for them to not feel as bad, sometimes they need an out. And so what happens is that they know he's so and so and so and so, but they had so much invested into it, so it's hard to turn it back on. I mean, they got the big yard sign, or like Grant said, the $2,000 car, they don't put the $300 worth of stickers on it. So how can you go against now? You know what I'm saying? Now you got to turn around from that after you make such big proclamations. So it's hard for them to do that. So like I don't know if it's
crazy.
I agree that, but then how do you bring them back into the fold to the point where do you sit back and say, nah, you were that, or do we sit back and say, I forgive you? Because I mean, they are some that are willing to say, you know what, this is crazy, or he's crazy, but if I say that, I gotta deal with the people that says, I told you so.
Yeah.
And so what happens is some people don't want to deal with that because of that level of shame. So what happens is they continue with what they've been doing, because at least they know what the outcome is going to be with this. But to sit back and to say I'm sorry and don't get that hug of welcome back, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's scary for people. So I'd rather stay gone than come to try to come back home and to be, not knowing how people are going to accept me. So this is where you have to. Yeah. This is where the people who are in that cult mentality. What do we do? Do we do what we always do? Come with the open arms and say, "Oh, I forgive you," or do we shun them and like until? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
they already drank the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
They already drank the Kool-Aid.
But I'm saying is that, what I'm saying is that, but they also will multiply.
Yeah.
So then, what do we do?
Well, I think traditionally Democrats haven't been loud enough, as loud as Republicans are. They haven't been boisterous and, hey, look at me enough. They've been intelligent and quiet and sophisticated and polite, and try to get by on that. And it don't look like it's working.
Let's so we've crossed over the 2-hour mark. I know that we said that we would spend a couple hours. So let's close out for the evening. But before we do that, I think that's a great question that you asked there, Amari, which is, what do some of these MAGA folks, what do they do after Donald Trump loses? Like, what is the process of rejoining the community, leaving the cult for those that maybe want to leave, like Nick Fuentes, or like what does all that look like, and what might that be if anything? So let's jump into that tomorrow night when we get back. Before we close out, are there any updates, Dukes, on the election side that you want to share with us?
He has a stronger lead in Pennsylvania right now. I think he's up in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
We still, like I said, they still have big inner cities, so that can change. It's still that 5-point lead in Georgia, from my understanding.
Right.
Yeah, still that 5-point lead in Georgia. Some polls, some people have, some channels got him at 200 versus 91 in electoral vote, so he's probably looking at 69 more. 69 more votes possible. He could get that with Georgia, North Carolina. So it's in within reach for Trump.
It looks like did you say that Trump is ahead in Pennsylvania now?
Yeah, it's real close. They were like 49-49.
Okay. It
That's
looks like and I see an update now. Arizona is going with Harris for the time being, but that's a very early projection. Those spots closed recently. Those polls just closed, so they're just now beginning to tabulate. Yeah, Pennsylvania now, Donald Trump with about 50% of the vote counted. So still nothing really for us to project, unfortunately, as we prepare to log off. It does look like, it looks like there are a few key races that Trump is ahead, and it looks like there are a few where Kamala is ahead. If Harris doesn't win Pennsylvania, but still holds Michigan and Wisconsin, then she'll need another path. She'll need like Iowa and then Nevada, or Iowa and like Arizona. She'll need another pathway if she doesn't hold Pennsylvania. So
Virginia has came back into the camp now, so that's a possibility.
Oh yeah, how's Virginia? Virginia is
49.1 versus 49. It's like 1,000 votes difference.
Really? So yeah. Virginia's in play, huh?
Yeah, but look at Jill Stein with 24,000 votes.
Yeah, and on our map, on our electoral map, we have Virginia going to Harris already. So you're saying now that it's real close and Trump could take it.
Yes. Well, right now, right now it is. Right now, she's up. She's up by 100,000 votes.
Okay. Yeah. So here's the map. Just one last time before we close out. Here's the map one last time. She has a narrow lead in Virginia, you're saying, and she was projected here. She had the light blue here on our map signifies that she had a narrow lead, but outside of the margin of error. So it looks like it's trending exactly the way that the most recent polls expected. But if she loses Virginia, that would be good for Trump and bad for Harris. So that's something for us to watch.
Yeah.
All right, my good brother. Well, this has been great hanging out with you this evening, and I hope that we both can make it back tomorrow. We'll be on, and we will be looking at the election and analyzing the election results. Hopefully, we have more clarity tomorrow when we jump on, and we won't be on for too long because the race will be decided. We will have a clear winner, and we can talk about that. But either way, we'll be back tomorrow night to talk more about the election and how things are going. Any last words there from you, Amari?
I don't got nothing, man. Nothing.
How are you feeling? Any different than when we started the conversation?
No, it's just the math. I love the math of it. So I'm trying to figure out the pathway to it. So I just love doing the math part about it. So nothing. I'm excited.
Excited?
Yeah. No doubt. I like to see how it's going to happen, how it's going to come out. I want to see what Michigan does and how it would affect the east side of the state has on the election. Yeah. So,
okay.
Do need Minnesota though. So that's key.
Mm-hmm. And if Harris doesn't get Pennsylvania, she's going to need Iowa. Too. So that's a key race to watch as well. But all right, my good brother, I will hopefully see you tomorrow evening. We'll be back at it tomorrow, same time, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Pacific. We hope that you can join us, and we hope that if you've been with us, that you've enjoyed our conversation and that it's helped you to alleviate some of the stress that you may be feeling right about now. We feel it with you. We will be back again tomorrow to do this all again and break down all of the most recent updates in the election. Real Powers people.
All right.